what I do is I always talk to celebrities that worked in restaurants prior to becoming famous.
Right.
When I reached out to you, you said, yeah, you did wait tables and you did bartend. Was that back home
I
or
did.
was
I
that?
did. I waited tables. I bartended. I bounced.
Hi, my name is Michael Fagan, and this is Waiting to be Famous. Each week I invite stars on the show that started their career waiting tables while they were waiting for fame and their big break. So lucky today to have an incredible guest, Tom Arnold, a household name for the last 30 years. And yes, he started off waiting tables and bartending. Please welcome Tom Arnold.
My mom ran the Elks Lodge.
Okay.
And it was, if you're 14, 15 years old, man, that was the place to work, because especially for my mom, who let us drink. And they had, we'd set up these big banquets and the regular people, and we had so much fun with the other waiters, waitresses, which I think is a big part of anytime I've been involved in the service business, the group of people,
Yeah.
and sometimes we were excellent at our jobs, but we were also, I compare it to the nurses, our volunteers at the camp. They're excellent, but yet we have so much fun when the kids go to sleep.
Well,
So, too much
I
fun.
always compare it to like a cast on set because you need to depend on each other and you get
Yeah.
so close and
Yeah.
there's a lot of fooling around that goes on and
Yeah,
there's a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of camaraderie and there's a lot, it matches up like that.
And we also had each other's back. Like
Right.
there was somebody would be very intoxicated, and then we'd cover so that the boss didn't. We put him over here. We do. We're very protective of each other. I did like working for her. The
Yeah.
one thing that's funny is everybody called her mom, but me. Like she was, oh, you must be so lucky
Oh
having
yeah.
been as your mom. I'm like, oh yeah. Well, I'm here to work and make some money and have some fun. And people didn't tip. Back in my day, these rednecks did not tip. They're like, I don't want to insult you by giving you a tip, and I'd be like, okay, well, I'm just going to steal it out of your money. So we're going to get our tips.
Queen of Meth. That's the documentary about your sister. So I was thinking about this, and I know you said your mother was quite a character. She was married 7 times, and but your dad must have been extraordinary, because if you look at it as a success story, your sister,
Yeah.
anybody can sell drugs, but she was the queen of meth, and yourself
She was very
became
successful.
famous movie star,
Yeah.
television star, comedian.
Yeah.
So there must be you could have told jokes, she could have sold drugs, but you both did it on the highest level.
Yeah. Well, especially for the town that we came from. We came from Tumble, Iowa, a very working class town. The meatpacking plant is our biggest business there, which I worked at for 3 years. I worked on the kill floor of the meatpacking plant for 3 years out of high school. And my sister, and if you see the series, you'll see that what happened is my mom made her marry a 23-year-old serial pedophile when she was 14. And that was the end. Because up till then, she'd done very well in life. We were raised by our dad.
Yeah.
We done very well. I went and lived with our mom first because I wanted to party. And when you're 15, man, you're like, hey, I don't want to cut my hair anymore. I don't want to have any rules.
No
and
rules.
then, unfortunately, and I'm an alcoholic. I'm in recovery, but I was an alcoholic young, very young. And unfortunately, my sister followed, and her worldview of our mother, she was always our hero.
When did you find the courage to start doing stand up? Did you move or did you start in Iowa?
My dad, he was when he was 18, when he was 22, he had a 4-year-old me, a 3-year-old my sister,
Yeah.
and my brother was 1. And I think, and the only time he'd go to work, and they'd come home, and the only time we really heard him laugh, like guffaw, Bob Hope is a
Mhm.
legendary comedian. He'd have
Sure.
these specials. And
Yeah.
he'd go around to Vietnam, or he'd go here, and he was a little, not dirty, but he's titillating, that old
Sure.
person thing. And my dad, we'd hear him downstairs laughing, crazy laughing. And I said to myself, whatever Bob Hope does, whatever that is, I am going to do that
No
in
kidding.
my life, because I'm going to make my dad laugh. When I moved to Hollywood, one of the first things I did was Bob Hope special. And Bob Hope called my dad. He wrote this stuff, and he was amazing. And so, so basically, I'd completed every goal by then.
Right.
And but my
You,
dad got to watch me and Bob Hope together in the same living room that he used to watch Bob Hope. And to me, that's the miracle. That's the magic, because I
yeah.
wanted it so bad that I made that happen.
For me, you made me laugh. And when I would watch the late night talk shows, my three favorite guests would be Rickles when I was in high school. And then it would be you. You were money. I think,
Yeah.
what were you on Letterman 30 times?
Yeah. I hosted it twice. Yeah.
Well, first, Robin Williams, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show.
Tom.
Now, listen, anything you want to say to Dave before you take off?
Boo!
When you talk about the late night shows, you get a good producer on each show that you work with that knows what you're going to do, that says, this is what David likes, this is what, and you work with him and you craft out something, and then hopefully you stick to it. You put a lot of stuff, a lot of topics, and you cover, in my case, like 3 of them. But there's a real art to it.
So then when you were doing comedy in the beginning, and you were in the clubs in LA, and that, who were some of the other comedians that were on stage with you that you were like at the clubs?
Well, when I moved to LA, I moved officially in 1988 to write the Roseanne show.
Oh,
but I started coming out here in the 80s, and
right.
Richard Pryor was working at the clubs, and Robin Williams, and Robin Williams, another guy. When I worked at the meatpacking plant, I'll tell you got to make your own fun at the meatpacking plant. And, you daydream, you whatever, you throw meat. But I dreamed that Robin. I was daydreaming. Mork and Mindy was on TV, and I was like, daydream that we were best friends. How that, and so the second big movie I did was called 9 Months, and we filmed. Robin Williams played by the doctor, and Hugh Grant and a bunch of people. Yeah, and we were at his house the night before we started the movie, because we filmed in San Francisco, and he had everybody over for dinner, and I'm sitting there with it. I'm like, hey, Robin, I have been here before, and he said, what do you mean? I said, you and me. Best friends. I said, I worked at the meatpacking plant. I imagined this exact thing. And he's like, we're not best friends. I go, I know that's true, but close enough for me. So, you just got to believe in, especially in my business where things don't always go well. You just got to believe that tomorrow everything could change. And that's really the truth.
Everything did change for you, right? I mean, in 1988, when you went to write on the Roseanne show, wasn't that your whole world must have turned upside down, right? Everything.
Yeah, I started like, if I could be a stand-up comic, be on TV one time, the people in my hometown would like me, which turns out not to be true. But when I met Roseanne when I was 23 in 1983, she came to Minneapolis to perform. She was a stand-up comic. She hadn't been on, she wasn't famous, but she was great. She got to Denver. And the guy that owned the club said, you guys are going to get along great. You guys work together. And we did. We hit it off. Like, we like to party. We liked it. And she was so funny. And I'd never seen a person, certainly not in my peer group, sort of. She's older than me, but be that funny and that excellent. And she, the secret with men, we know we're good looking, but you tell us we're funny, then you got us. And so I started writing jokes for her. And the first time she went on Johnny Carson, she did a couple of the jokes, and I was watching it back home and like, oh my God, look at my friend. She's killing it. She's doing this. So that's how I got into the writing stuff and writing on, her material. And then when it came time for the Roseanne show, because obviously I knew her character. Yeah. And so I came out, I'm like, well, I was going to be a comedian, and now I'm a writer. So that's what I'm going to do. And I love that. But then the second season, they're like, okay, now that you guys are a couple, we want you to come on the show and do something. Because, back then, 45 million people a week watched a show like that.
I watched it every Tuesday night. I mean, I'm old enough to remember Roseanne and you in the early days too. I'm just a few years younger than you. And I remember her on Carson just killing it. And I remember those days too. You just celebrated a sober birthday?
I did. I celebrated on July 14th, my 4th year of sobriety. I haven't drank since December 10th, 1989.
Oh,
But,
okay.
after being sober 19 years, I wrecked my motorcycle, I broke my back, and I always said, and this is dumb, but I always said, I was a cocaine and alcohol guy.
Yeah.
And so, these opioids, the heroin opioids, that was never my thing. Well, it became my thing real fast. And so I went back to rehab for that. And then, later, and it's something about your kids growing up. If you come from a very abusive
Mhm.
childhood, sexually abusive, physically, you deal with it. In my case, when I got sober the first time, I went back and located the pedophile from our neighborhood and confronted him and made sure he couldn't adopt any more kids. And 30 other people came forward after that. It was really,
Okay.
and I thought, I've done it, put it to bed, put it to rest. But I think what happens in the back of your mind, you're always like, well, maybe I was a bad kid. Maybe that's why, And so
Yeah.
when you have kids, the first thing you see this little baby, you're like, holy shit, I was like this. I was perfect. And then as they get a little older, you realize, oh shit, that's what I look like.
Yeah.
That's what with these monsters. And so, I wasn't sleeping, and I became my own doctor, which is always a bad idea. And started taking benzos, which are like Xanax and that form of drug. And then I went back to rehab to deal with that. And I got to tell you something, people don't talk about those as much as they do opioids or
Yeah.
alcohol, but they are insidious.
Since '89, when you became sober, and I've been surrounded by people with addictions my whole life, whether it's family or friends or coworkers. I always appreciated all the talking that you did and I think you did get through to a lot of people. You championed that cause, and you were always honest. You always, which is hard to do, and you showed people that they can.
Yeah, I'm always honest when I figure out. I'm honest. I've also lied to myself, and this isn't a problem. This is a medical thing, and I'm pretty good at lying to myself. But once I realize, oh yeah, I'm bullshitting myself.
The voices come in your head, and they can convince you to anything is good or bad. Tom, I took up enough of your time.
Thank you, brother.
I can't thank you enough.
Hey, a very special thanks to Tom Arnold for coming on today. I couldn't be more grateful. If you're a customer out there, be nice to the waiters, because you never know if they're waiting to be famous. And if you're a waiter, dream big, because dreams do happen. My name is Michael Fagan, and I'm still changing everything you think a waiter is, one story at a time. This is Waiting to be Famous. Thanks so much for watching.